Hello, yeah, Aline, all set. You can start.
Okay.
A very good o- a very good morning to each and every one of you, and very warm welcome to one and all. With great zeal and enthusiasm, the Indian Institute of Management Mumbai and Avartan welcomes you all. I am Garima Singh,
And I am Aleen Halani.
your host for the event. A very good morning to all our esteemed panelists. Professor Anju Singh ma'am, Professor in charge of SAY committee. Today, IIM Mumbai presents Green Lantern under the banner of Avartan 2023. Avartan is a 7-day business annual festival of IIM Mumbai, which aims to foster management excellence by bringing together students, faculty, and corporate visionaries on a common platform. Avartan propagates IIM Mumbai vision of being the leader in knowledge-led productivity movement. In its illustrious legacy of over 2 decades, Avartan has borne witness to numerous significant milestones. This year, a new chapter will be added to this legacy as NEETI has transformed as IIM Mumbai, coinciding with Institute's celebration of its Diamond Jubilee. The purpose of our gathering today is to explore and understand the pivotal role that businesses play in propelling sustainable development within India. We aim to shed on how the corporate world can align its goals and strategies with the sustainable development agenda to foster positive societal and environmental impacts. I now take the honor of introducing our esteemed panelists. First, we have with us Mr. Ankur Chaturvedi, Sir, Associate VP, HSE Emami Limited. With a remarkable career spanning over 2 decades, Mr. Ankur is a seasoned professional in supply chain management and business excellence. Currently serving as Associate Vice President at Emami Limited, he has held key roles at renowned companies like Twinings, Typhoon Tea Limited, and Tata Consumer Product Limited. His expertise in international supply chain manufacturing and operation is truly inspiring. Thank you, sir, for coming here. Next, we have with us Mr. Abhishek Garg, sir, founding partner, AA Garg and Company. Our esteemed panelist brings a wealth of financial expertise to the table, with a career spanning over various key roles. As a founding partner of AA Garg and Company, he has demonstrated entrepreneurial acumen. Prior to this, his tenure at Unilever, Morgan Stanley, and other prominent positions has honed his financial acumen. Thanks for joining, sir. Next, we had Mr. Neeraj Porwal, sir, Director, Technical and Supply Chain Sustainability, the Coca-Cola Company. A multifaceted professional with over 20 years of experience in technical and supply chain management, manufacturing of operations, and strategic sourcing, procurement, purchase in FMCG industry. He has expertise in supply chain transformation, new product development, manufacturing operation, and contract manufacturing. He has also worked in FMCG companies such as Marico Limited, PepsiCo Limited, and Dunkin's Limited. Happy to have you here, sir. Next, we have Mr. Rahul Nene, sir, Head Sustainability, Huhtamaki. With over a decade of experience in driving sustainability and ESG practices, our panelist is a trailblazer in the field. As the current head of sustainability at Huhtamaki, he has led groundbreaking initiatives, collaborated on circular economy projects, and a champion of corporate responsibility. His dynamic career has also seen his excel at prominent organizations such as L'Oreal and ACT Fibernet. And above all, he is our own alum. Happy to have you, sir, here. And last but not the least, our own alum again, Mrs. Ruchi Birla, ma'am, ESH and Sustainability Head at Medtronics. Our distinguished panelist brings over a decade of experience in championing environmental health and safety and sustainability in corporate settings. Currently, serving as the ESH head of India, commercial and R&D at Medtronics, he has led innovative initiatives setting remarkable standards in the field. With a dynamic career that includes role at Marico Limited and Tata Motors, he has been recognized for her contribution, including pioneering office safety frameworks and attaining prestigious safety awards. And she is our own alum. Happy to have you, ma'am.
I extend a very warm welcome to each and every one of you to this crucial gathering focusing on the subject of paramount importance to us, the role of business in advancing sustainable development in India. And we have the privilege of being your host for this significant event. Now, I request respected Professor Anju Singh ma'am to moderate and continue with the session. Handing over to the ma'am.
So, very good morning to all the panelists and the students. And it's SAY is a sustainability and you. It has been there for about 20 years. And this, we try to take the students beyond from what's happening in the classroom and have experts come and share their insights, which help our students, do better. And what I would request the panelists is to, before they begin, share their professional journey also in a few sentences. And also at the end of it, give a bit of, their advice on what youngsters should be, where they should be heading and whatever they think is, the advice that they would like to give to the students. So I will not take much of your time. Thank you very much. And students are waiting to listen to the speakers. They listen to us throughout the year. So welcome and looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And now I invite Mr. Abhishek Garg to share his insights on the topic. Over
So
to you, sir.
thank you. Thank you, Alan, and thank you everybody, and thank you to the IIM Mumbai and SA teams to invite us and talked on this and giving this opportunity to talk to the future leaders of sustainability domain. And it's my I'm glad and honored to be here. Now, coming to the sustainability, the topic which the role of business in sustainability and how it happens. So before starting and giving a context to this, I would want you guys to understand a little bit more about little bit of the past and the present. We have been hearing a lot about EHS. We have been hearing a lot about OEHS, HSCs, and all this department now ESG. So sustainability world has been evolving quite a number of few of times in last 2 3 decades. But what has changed in ESG and how the business has got impacted and what is their role? So to understand that, let's go a little back. What does the EHS mean before the ESG was even coming to the play? So EHS was the environment, health, and safety, and all those related important thing which company has to undertake, which was covered under the sustainability prior to ESG coming into the forefront. Now, under this, business used to has to follow a lot of compliances in terms of their environment aspects, in terms of health, safety, and a lot of other critical sustainability related parameters and impacts. However, those were limited to the compliances angle in terms of this is the limit of your monitoring, limit of emissions, water, and XYZ. However, now the shift has changed, the ESG has changed, and the new domain of sustainability has changed from that EHS era to ESG era. Now, under this, it's not only about compliances now in ESG, it's all about what is the impact of your business to the environment, social, and how are you governing it? Right. So previously, yes, for example, let's say there was a air emission and there was air emission, there was a limit to it. But now the companies has to start looking at, what is the impact of that air emission on the environment? What is the impact of their, policies on the people and the safety? Now, coming to the role of business in the sustainability. See, what is business? Business is a group of people who is an organization who is working on a purpose and working on an objective to earn profit and run sustainably. Yeah. So sustainability is not only limited to environment, health, and social. It is a wide subject, and it's subjective answers everywhere. By the way, however, so business, for example, today has a huge reach outs and touch points. If you look at it in a different manner, there are internal people and stakeholders within a company who gets impacted. It's a group of people which organization and business, deeply influence. Let me give you an example of my career at Unilever. Just a very small example, but there are many such instances. And it was Unilever who used to compel us to follow a lot of safety procedure. For example, just a small act, which is wearing seat belt while driving a car. And believe me, that got inculcated in me, and till today I ensure that I even it's became an habit. I cannot drive the car without a seat belt. So that is something a company puts on you, and that is where. So that is something internal, and it influences the internal people, creates a culture. They have that, power is with them. They have those resources and reach outs. At the same time, the companies, as they involve in a lot of things in a bulk manner, they impact the environment in the bulk manner, and the same time they can, influence in the positive manner. One of the thing I really admire is doing well at by doing good. Right. So sustainability, yes, business has a huge role to play. It's not only internal but external stakeholders as well. Business, as I said, the organization play a very crucial role in terms of changing the behavior, influencing the behaviors, and as well as taking sustainable actions like sourcing the materials in a sustainable way, the impact on the environment. I now see, and I'm sure the esteemed panelists would already be, and I know a couple of them are working on it. So, for example, how they can reduce their carbon footprint, one of the major talk of the town in the sustainability world. How we reduce, water discharge, and how do we reduce our consumption and footprint, various environment aspects. But leaving that aside as well, is as I said, sustainability is not limited to only environment, social, and governance. Sustainability is a broad and a big topic. So under social as well, as I said, it leads to a lot of new behavior and changing in the culture in the overall general people in day to day and individual. So it's a group, I would say, which has the power and which has their moral obligation. And at the end of the day, if I have to add one more point, why business has to do it, because they cannot shy away from this, because now investors are asking for it, the consumers are asking for it, while consumer are asking for it, they are not ready to pay for it. That's a separate challenge, and that is where these future leaders have to come out and think differently, out of the box, and out of the box solutions, which is not cost on cost for a sustainability initiative. And sustainability should be something which should be part of every business decisions you are making. And that was the culture I was embedded to when I worked in Unilever. Now I'm trying to create that through our firm and multiple people. But yes, businesses and organization has a huge role to play. When they ask for it, the demand is created. When they supply for it, the supply is created. It's they together make a huge impact. So yeah. And what the future leaders of sustainability domain, for them, I would say, you do not limit yourself. If you're not getting the solution, it's not so easy. There are a lot more to be done, and you guys have a huge role to play in the coming time for the sustainability journey in the business world, as well as a normal environment, climate change. So the out of the box ideas, sustainable ideas, and as well as the ideas which are not ROI negative for the companies. These things, which is well, will you will help the business to take those decisions, which will have a larger impact. One of the interesting thing, I have to just give you a example how business can impact a day to day in day out of life of a common person. Is just imagine how you all of you, or maybe I'm not sure whether the right generation I'm talking to, but how all of us, if I have to say, shifted from using a soap to a liquid soap. Yeah. So just imagine how a company shift you to a different kind of behavior, from innovations, from thinking differently. So yes, they have a huge role to play, and now sustainability is not a option. It's not a option anymore. It is something has to be done. It is important. And yes, that is what my suggestion to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we are happy to hear from you once again. And thank you so much for your insights. And next, I call upon Mr. Rahul Nene to share his insights on the topic.
Sure. Hi, everyone, and good morning. First of all, a bit of apology because my voice is a bit rough today. I was down on my health, so pardon me for that. And if it is okay with you, I actually wanted to share a quick presentation while I talk. so that I can some also present some visuals to what I'm speaking.
Yes, sir.
Please stop me in case there is any query that comes up, but it's on YouTube, right? So I guess. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I think first of all, a very interesting topic, honestly, that has been chosen. Sorry, a bit of time check. How much time do I have for my talk?
Rahul, you please take your own time.
Okay. Like I was saying, a very interesting topic and something that I, honestly have experienced because when I started my career, I always had this intention of working uh, towards sustainability. I mean, obviously, the word sustainability at that time was not in vogue, so to say. It was environmental management. But I already always had this interest, and I was in my thought process confused whether I should work in the form of an NGO, for example, a non-for-profit organization which works on the grassroots level, or does it really make sense to enter a business or a corporate scenario to work on this agenda? And as you know, I chose to work in the corporates. And after working in corporates for about 10, 12 years, I think what I have learned is, many a times corporates are given a bad name. I mean, they are always under the gun saying that a company is capitalist. They are only looking at profits. They are looking at earning money, but not really doing good for the environment. My personal experience, although, has been that I have had the fortune of working with four very good companies who have kind of had sustainability as part of their own value system, and they have been making a difference in the society. And maybe I'll just speak from the perspective of the current company that I have, but just as a beginning statement, I think the role a business can play in terms of advancing sustainability development in India is massive, because the footprint of the industry is massive. And if the industry truly wants or can, I mean, starts working on contributing towards sustainable practices in the industry, I think there is no other sector that can contribute as much. So just as a pretext to what I'm going to talk about. So as it was introduced in my earlier thing, I currently head sustainability for Huhtamaki. Just one slider on what my company is, because not many people know of Huhtamaki. They know of my previous companies because they're consumer good companies. But I'm sure that all of you touch at least one Huhtamaki product every day, because most of the consumer good packaging, paper-based packaging, like for example, even the Starbucks cups, the Indigo Airline cups, the Blue Tokai, Tim Hortons cups, the KFC buckets, to all the most consumer goods packaging that you hold for all chocolates, pharmaceuticals, is something that is manufactured by Huhtamaki. We are focused on flexible packaging. We are a Finnish company operating in 38 countries, and the numbers are next to you. Now, since I'm working in a packaging company, maybe I will address this particular topic from a packaging point of view. I'll not look at the entire industry. Now, before we go into that, right? When I speak of packaging, right, what do we think? I mean, in fact, very frankly, even if I work with companies like Birla and L'Oreal, packaging was something that I personally, or I just felt the industry sometimes takes for granted, because it is just there. What you're focusing on is the product inside, and that's what you're going to sell, right? But when you come to think of it, packaging is something that protects the product it is holding. For example, I think in the introduction, someone said about food waste. It is a statistic that one third of the food that is generated on this planet is wasted, and associated one of the key impacts on climate is food production. But if you are wasting one third of the food that is being made on this planet, imagine the kind of emissions, kind of environmental impact we are just wasting, right? That is where packaging comes in. If it is functional packaging, if the packaging can really hold and protect the food stuff that is held inside it, probability of the food getting wasted uh, is minimal. And that's the role a packaging packaging plays. Not just food. For example, take the example of a hair color. Right? Hair color can oxidize if it comes in contact with oxygen. So it has to be flushed with nitrogen, and the packaging should be able to hold it. Tomorrow, when you pick up a hair color, if it is spoiled, not only your money is wasted, but the emissions that went into manufacture of that hair color have gone wasted. So packaging is something that really protects what it holds, and that's what our motto at the top of the we call it as our strategy house. If you see the top, it's protecting food, people, and planet, and that's what we do as packaging. We protect the food, we protect the people, which also includes the consumer goods, and the planet, which is so which what we mean is we want to develop packaging solutions that are sustainable. Right? I'll not go into this. I don't want to speak more about the company, but I'll come straight to the topic. Before we go into sustainable packaging and how my company or any company that is working in the packaging sector can help advance sustainable practices in India, I just wanted to take a bit of perspective on circular economy and packaging as well, right? Uh, this saying is something that I truly personally believe in, which is if you have a problem, Albert Einstein has said, look deep into nature and you will understand things better. And when we think of sustainability, right, the word sustainability sometimes gets abused. But if you think the word in itself, what is it talking about? It is talking about systems that can sustain themselves without creating a damage on the environment, very simply put. Now, if you look into nature, what has sustained over thousands of years? The many species have come and gone, many things systems have come up and gone, but things that have continued to sustain over and over period of time are things or are systems which are circular in nature. I've just put an example here. Look at the water cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, right? Oxygen cycle. The output of one aspect of the system is the input for the next, and it goes and goes on and on. And there is circularity to this. So nature teaches us any system that is designed as circular will probably be also be sustainable. If you don't design for circularity, you probably won't design for sustainability. And this, I think, is a very critical understanding that all businesses need to develop. And this is where I think all businesses are looking at, right? But unfortunately, where are we today? Because when we think of packaging, right, suddenly the word plastic comes into our mind, and we just villainize plastic. Like plastic is bad. There are so many startups today. I'll be open about it who just replace the plastic packaging with a cloth packaging and say now they're sustainable. Is it the case? Definitely not. Textile waste is equally impactful on environment as probably plastic is. And what has happened after the, especially the industrial revolution, is instead of building circular systems in the industry, we have built linear systems. We take, we make, we use, and we dispose. And whatever we dispose does not go back into the value chain of the product. We cannot use it back to manufacture that product. And same is the case with packaging, and especially I'll focus on plastic packaging. And plastic, honestly, it's a very beautiful substance. It sustains. There is no other substance which gives this kind of protection at this weight, this efficiency, this cost efficiency, and this durability. But because it is durable, it stays in nature for a long time. It breaks down slowly, and it breaks down into microplastics, which can further impact, say, water, marine systems, etc. The problem so is not the material, right? If I mean, I can speak a lot about this, but if you look at plastic as a substance, it was invented to protect the environment. The first plastic that was invented was as a replacement to ivory, because and ivory was being made by poaching elephants, and they wanted to stop poaching of elephants. That's why they invented the first plastic to replace ivory. The second plastic, which is bakelite, that was invented, was to replace shellac. Shellac was used as an insulator, but they wanted and shellac used to come from trees, so they used to cut trees. But they invented bakelite to replace cutting down of trees for shellac. So plastic as a whole is can be extremely useful if you build circular systems around it. So the issue is today not the material, but the way we are using the material. And then that is where the role of business comes in. Because if the businesses can develop and design for this circularity, then probably this whole issue of plastic waste won't come into picture, right? So this is what we are saying. Right now we are using, I mean, if you see the below part of this process, we are using virgin raw material, we are making, we are using, we are disposing. And when I say leakage, leakage into the environment. Instead, if after use, it is collected, sorted, recycled, and the recycled content goes back into the manufacturer of own packaging, then probably there won't be any plastic waste that gets generated, right? Here, I want to take a moment to first understand the word recycle as well. Many a times, what we think in India as recycle is actually downcycle. We recycle in a very to a very poor quality level. We use the recycled granules in manufacture of ropes and whatnot. We manufacture dustbins out of it, etc. So imagine a plastic that was of the quality that could hold and protect food, or has as you know, you have treated it and now it can be used only to a quality of manufacture of dustbins. You have not recycled. It has not gone back into the value chain of packaging production. It has actually degraded. This is not recycling. This is downcycling. When I say recycle, you treat it and use it back into the value chain of the same product. And that's where our company is focused. That's where the packaging sector today is focused. That's where our regulations. You have Abhishek from Garg. We are working with him on our compliances to plastic waste management rules. If you look at the vastness of the plastic waste management rules, this is what even the regulations are trying to push to develop this circularity in packaging, right? Again, the same thing that I said, instead of having linear systems, build recycling systems, build reuse systems, so that there comes a circularity in packaging. Yeah, and but before we actually do this, right? I mean, it sounds so simple and sounds so logical on paper. When you start working on it, you find more and more problems. So because one of the key aspects I said was collecting, sorting, segregating, recycling the waste and getting it back into our manufacturing system, right? But if we are supposed to take a view of the recycling infrastructure across various nations in the world, right? And also the collection and recycling and the segregation systems that are available in various countries. I'll focus on India. If you see, we have divided the pie chart into various segments which are necessary for collecting, segregating, recycling, and producing waste back into our packaging. If you just focus on the color red, if you see in India, apart from a couple of parameters, everything is in red. What we mean is we don't have sufficient infrastructure to address this need of collecting, recycling, and back uh, bringing back waste into the value chain of packaging. So the message I want to give here is we have businesses, we have entities that are working in each sector. There are recyclers who are recycling. There are someone like us who are designing the packaging. There are someone like us who are manufacturing the packaging. There are companies who are involved in waste collection and segregation, right? All the stakeholders need to come together in a common system and work with each other, because the output of my product, which is the waste, is going to be the input of the recycler. The output of the recycler is going to be the input again in my manufacturing process. So we have to work together. I cannot just sit in silo and say, okay, I'm going to develop a sustainable system. No, all the stakeholders and all the businesses and all the organizations who are as part of this value chain need to come together to develop a sustainable practice. And this is the key message that I want to give here. When the role of business is not just to work on their own carbon emissions, the water emissions, that honestly, that period is gone. That was the starting of sustainability. You need to work beyond your boundaries. You need to work beyond your scope with other organizations to, if you want to really truly develop a sustainable process. And that's, I think, the role the businesses need to play critically. I'll quickly tell you about a program that we have right now. Just as an example, uh, take the example of a chips packet, right? You all of us eat, say, Lay's, right? And you open the packet, you eat the chips, you see a silver lining inside, right? What is it? It's basically aluminum. Why is it there? Because the food inside, the chips inside, need to be protected against moisture. they need to be protected against oxygen penetration. How do we do? So obviously, what else is there? There is a lot of printing that is there on the outside, which is to attract customers. The blue color that you see for, say, a magic masala. So there is a layer of plastic where there was printing done, and the printing was done through ink, which is again hazardous chemicals. Then there is multiple layers of plastic. Then there is a layer of aluminum foil. All these layers, right? After you eat the chips, that packaging is going to go as waste. Now, if I have to recycle this packaging, now another critical thing that needs to be done is India is typically a mechanical recycling country, which means we shred the waste, we clean it, and we do extrusion. Most of the Western countries are chemical recycling, meaning they chemically treat and bring the polymer back to its original state through repolymerization. India does not have that. So we only can shred the waste and we can melt it. But imagine there are now 4 different types of polymers and then aluminum. And I have one extruder in which I can set one melting temperature. So only one of these polymers is going to get melted. Rest of the polymers are going to be partially melted, and the aluminum which is going to be metallic is going to be passed on as metallic content. That is the reason why the output quality of the granules that are generated is poor, and it is not of the quality that can be used back in the manufacturing of packaging, right? But instead, if I am able to get rid of the structure, not have the aluminum, not have the multiple layer types of polymers, but if I can make the same functionality of protecting those chips through a structure which is purely single polymer, right? So on the right hand side, if you see today and future, what we are working on is developing structures that can absolutely be single polymer without multiple polymers being placed. So in our current system, they can be recycled to such a quality that it can be used again in the manufacturing of packaging, right? This is the future of packaging, and this is where businesses like us have a critical role to play, because only businesses have the strength of capital investment, the strength of R&D, which can really truly work on such innovations. An NGO cannot do it. A single individual cannot do it. It has to come from the strength of corporates, and that's the message I want to give. Because if we don't design this, rest of the system fails. If, for example, like I said, if we continue with the structures that are mentioned as today in my slide, we will never be able to achieve circularity in our packaging, and that's the key role I would say our business plays. This is another example I want to give. What we have done in Huhtamaki. So while we are working on developing these recyclable structures, so to say, just to give you an indicator of the 100% packaging that we sell today, about 30% are certified as recyclable as per the innovation that we have done. We have a 2030 target of reaching 100% of our packaging solutions to be recyclable. But until that time, what do? We also as a company are manufacturing the multi-layered packaging, right? And it will continue till 2030. So at least since we are experts with plastics, we are experts with extrusion, we have set up a multi-layered packaging recycling plant in a place called as Populi. Obviously, this cannot address the entire waste problem in India. But again, this is through our social investment, where we are saying while the time we can completely work on making our packaging recyclable, let us do our bit also to recycle the waste that is currently getting generated. Because maybe even Abhishek or someone else can tell, the only possible way to handle multi-layered packaging waste today in India is either it goes to garbage dumps and landfills, or it goes to cement factories for burning. There is no recycling that happens truly about it. That is what we have tried to invest in. We have kind of modified the existing extrusion processes in the industry, and we are trying to recycle MLP. Again, it's not purely recycling, it's downcycling, but at least we are trying to divert MLP from the landfills to a kind of another application where it can be reused. So this is what I want to present as what our business can do to develop sustainable practices and to develop systems that can solve the plastic waste problem in India. On the left hand side, currently we are trying to recycle as much as possible, but on the right hand side, we are looking at the long term, which is we have created a program to make our packaging recyclable so that there is circularity in packaging as a whole. Coming to my last slide, what businesses can do. something that I spoke of earlier also. No, it's the time is no more that you just stick to what you can do in your own boundaries. You need to work with other organizations. You need to work with the regulators. You need to work with policymakers. You need to work with think tanks to develop circular efficiency, sustainability in the industry. And this is what we are also doing. For example, we just had the G20, right? So Huhtamaki and 38 other companies, uh, uh, the leading companies in India, we formed a coalition on circular economy and resource efficiency. We are trying to develop now. So we are going to develop the distributed industry in various sectors and try to develop circular economy standards for those industries. On the right hand side, this is where I had participated in one of a couple of working groups with the Ministry of Environment and Forest Climate Change to develop standards in terms of, so many a times companies declare that they are working on circular economy, but creating guidelines on how can we truly certify something as compliant with circular economy in the country and something which is not, which is just greenwashing. And some of you might be aware there is something called as an India Plastics Pact. Most countries have Plastics Pact today, where they bring in industries, they bring in regulatory officials, they bring in NGOs, they bring in recyclers, they bring in the entire value chain of plastics to work together to develop guidelines for sustainable practices in the country. And so, again, the point is, you can, once you are able to develop systems within you, you innovate, you develop systems that not only impact your operations but the overall industry as a whole. You need to take those solutions to the other stakeholders so that they can then do their bit and the whole system as a whole in the industry becomes sustainable. So that was it that I wanted to say as a message. Professor Anju Singh, she said that if you want to give any advice to the students, one bit of advice that I really want to give is believe only in data and science. Don't develop on sustainability basis perceptions, which are very running high in the industry. You're all future leaders. Uh, for example, if I have to say that I have to use packaging in which is sustainable, only believe the life cycle assessment that is done on it in a truly sense. Don't believe someone just replacing plastic with cloth and saying that it is sustainable, right? So that's all I had to say, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights to the panel today. And your perspective has added tremendous depth to the discussion. And just to inform you all that all our students have joined from YouTube and they are coming up with questions. So the format would be first each and every speaker will speak, and towards the end we will take up Q&A. So we are collecting the questions from the YouTube. So I'll be giving out those questions to the panel. And moving forward, now I invite Mr. Neeraj Porwal to share his insights.
Um, Thank you very much. I hope you're able to hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Um, Thank you, IIM Mumbai, for organizing this. And I'm really glad to be a part of this panel. I see, uh, you know, uh, good insights from Rahul. We're very close to whatever is happening in the packaging industry, and also from yeah, Mr. Abhishek on how he has seen the industry trend in last almost like 2 or 3 decades. So a quick introduction of mine. I'm Neeraj Porwal. I'm almost like 99% a supply chain professional. But as we are evolving, we as a company, which is I work with Coca-Cola, we realize some understand the real supply chain. They won't be able to find a solution to make it more sustainable. And when I was offered this position, I said that this is the right way where I can, contribute not only to the business but also to the society which I'm in. Uh, so I have experiences of working with most of the fast FMCG companies, including Marico and PepsiCo, and I'm almost spending 13 years with Coke now in various roles. Uh, but believe me, sustainability is something which I am finding the most exciting role which I've ever worked upon. Okay. And the reason is there are huge opportunities across the different pillars of sustainability. Right? I if you all are okay, I can keep it interactive with the students so that we'll be able to understand the insights not only from industry but also from the future leaders of this country. Um, so, uh, in terms of sustainability, I'll broadly split into three pillars. One is obviously one without waste. How do we create an environment which does not have waste? Even if we are using it, how does it goes for up recycling and not a down recycling? Which means that if I'm making a product, it goes back to the same product. It does not go any other product. Right? That's the biggest intention that uh, we aspire to. The second is the climate, which includes the carbon emission, and which should be in line with India's vision to be become carbon neutral by 20 or net zero by 2070. And the third is also very important, which is water. And I don't know if I'll start with packaging, and I know we've got a lot of insights from Rahul, but how many of you know uh, that the PET, the PET bottles that we make, mostly in the beverage, what is the recycling percentage in India? Any guesses? Any guesses this year? Anyone can pitch in. The recycling rate in India for PET across industry is more than 95%. Okay? And you may come up with a question saying that no, I find PET lying as litter, right? But that's you may find it for few days. In few days, it will be picked up uh, from wherever it is lying and it goes to recycling. Where does it goes? And very few people know about it. 99% of the PET, which is recycled, goes to what you're wearing, the textile, right? Anything which is not 100% cotton, it has polyester, is actually coming from the PET bottles that we recycle in India. And let me tell you, India is the second biggest country to recycle PET. Okay, the first is Japan because the municipal corporation picks it up from the households and take it back for the recycling. Okay, India is second largest thanks to the policies which this government and India regulators has brought in. There's a regulation which mandates recycling of collection of PET bottles, whatever goes to the market. We call it post consumers recycling product, PCR. Now the story is not stopping here. As I told you, it is still a downward recycling, right? We are still finding technologies which can recycle your textile, and it goes back to see textile. China has done it. China has actually started chemical recycling of textile. In India, it's still to come. Right? But that's not a real thing. I mean, the real thing is that how do we bring and integrate it with the business that we are currently doing? And this is something that big companies are trying to bring in, is to go beyond CSR. It is not about the 2% CSR, 2% of the net revenue that you go and do sustainability. It is beyond that. It is now about bringing sustainable solutions integrated with business. Okay. And if I apply that concept in PET, uh, the intention is to make a bottle from a bottle and not to make a textile from a bottle. Okay. So we aspire to do almost like 60% of the total portfolio coming from recycled PET. This is not us, this is India. India has a mandate to do 60% coming from the post-consumer waste. And this is how the industry is evolving. Today, the, the recycling, as I told you, is about 99%, which essentially means that if India is consuming about 500,000 metric ton of PET plastic, uh, almost 400,000 metric ton or 405,000 metric ton is going to textile. Today, the bottle to bottle capabilities, the Indian entrepreneurs are investing, funded by various venture capitalists, their own funds, uh, supported by industries which are into it. Okay. Presently, we have about 25,000 metric ton of capacity. But see how India is evolving. We are the largest growing economy, uh, 3.7 US billion dollars. If we grow like this, assuming the investment that is coming in, and similar trend is happening in the recycling front. By 2025 end, we are expected to have 400,000 metric ton capacity for recycling bottle to bottle grade PET. Not done by industry, it is done by few entrepreneurs of India. You know, small companies. You would have seen many listed companies in India which have started their business from waste collection. They are now more than 5,000 crore business. A typical example is let's say Ganesh Ecosystem. They started very small. They're one of the largest PET recycling uh, facility in India. And then this is how the trend is changing. And days are not far when we will be the best in bringing in those technologies in India and actually, moving towards upward recycling. Right? And let me tell you, the world average of recycling is about 16%. India, the Indian government has actually made a mandate by 2025, 30% of the entire portfolio will come from the recycling content. This is how India is changing. And that's how, you as future leaders have an opportunity to dig into all of these aspects, which is now not sustainability or ESG coming from a CSR budget, but it's an integrated business model. Okay. A few things like I, I'm I'm not sure whether how many of you are aware about it. Is about what is the total percentage of power in India which comes from renewable sources. Any guesses? You can use that to. But this year, very close, 37, very close. This year, India will be closing at 43%, right? Mostly coming from hydro and solar. The way things have evolved in hydro, solar, and wind energy, last year itself, we have actually uh, increased it by 200% from 2021 to 2022. So 43% of energy coming from renewable sources, you know. But there are still few states which are not very conducive to drive solar policy, right? Why? Because they have surplus thermal power. They offer power at a lower cost than solar, or the government, state government does not allow the solar group captive or captive or a capex kind of an infrastructure to come in because they will have more surplus power. Right? So imagine 20, 27, 28 states, few of them have zero solar power, while India averages 43%. Right? See the opportunity you have. Soon, in next 5 years, these things will change. People will start shifting from um, you know coal-based power um, to solar power, right? And most of the electricity that you consume will be coming from solar. Now, we have challenges, right? You can't store electricity. That's the biggest challenge that it has. The technology is now evolving, wherein you can store power for many months. Those are the technologies which are coming in. And those are the technologies which will get integrated with business. You know, it is not only about um, using it, but also finding solutions to preserve it. India is the third largest uh, country to emit carbon, but our per capita consumption, sorry, emission of carbon, we are way ahead, we are way behind than any of the emerging countries. The per capita world average carbon emission is about 4.4 metric ton per year. India is about 3.3. We are much lower. But because our population is so high, we are the third largest emitter of carbon. We have done a lot of things, but unless things changes in a way that no one ever done it, no, India cannot stand. So bringing in new technologies, bringing in efficiency is something which is getting integrated with business. Third is the water, right? Um, we are the I mean, most populated country in the world. We're the second largest to consume the absolute water. Okay, but in terms of the water ranking, we are somewhere around 38 or 39 in terms of the per capita consumption of water. We actually consume less water. Our per capita consumption is about 133 liters per day per person, right? So we still use very less water, but in terms of the absolute water that we use in the country is way high. So there are technologies which are coming in and which is getting integrated with business, wherein you reduce or make products which does not even consume water. You know, there is a work stream which has started, um, which will which which is working on making packaging with zero water consumption. Okay? Those are the things which are getting evolved in in few years, and then in by 2035 you would see many of them coming. So if you honestly ask me, whether one should decide a career in ESG, don't think ESG as a CSR activity. This is future. This is technology which will change your life. This is something which will evolve irrespective of your interest level, right? So I'll because we have limited time, I'll restrict myself to not to speak much more details about it, but open for any questions in the Q&A forum that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And your perspective has added an extra layer of depth to the panel discussion. And we thank you for your invaluable input here.
Since all panelists are present on a single screen, I will take this opportunity to kindly request all our esteemed guests and Professor Anju ma'am and SAY team to turn on their cameras for a group photograph. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Now I invite Ruchi ma'am to give her insights on the topic. Uh, Now I invite Ruchi ma'am to give her insights on the topic.
Okay. Hi everyone. As the students have already given the introduction from my end, I'm Ruchi Birla and I'm your alum from batch number PGDI 9 to 11. And well, I'll just give a brief introduction about Medtronic because I'm not very sure if all of you are aware of what Medtronic is and what does Medtronic do, and then I'll move to what I want to share with you. So Medtronic is an electronic devices company. It is the biggest in the world, and we work with the motive of engineering the extraordinary. And if you talk about Medtronic, we from the very starting only, it has worked into sustainability in one way or the other, where we are touching the patient lives. So we are a global healthcare technology leader, boldly tackling the world's challenging healthcare problems with groundbreaking innovations. And our mission, if you see the mission of Medtronic, which is to elevate pain, restore health, and extend the life, it empowers our diverse global team to develop healthcare technologies that transform the lives of two people every second of every hour of every day. So you can imagine the kind of sustainable initiatives the company would have taken need not be directly showing any environment or social or a profitable thing, but yeah, definitely if we dwell into it and try to see into it, a lot of initiatives have been taken from that perspective. And since Anju ma'am had mentioned that we also need to touch upon as to how we started and what we have done in our career. So I would like to throw light on how it's all started. So Anju ma'am is here, who was our teacher, and she was the one who introduced us to the main topic of sustainability in the very early days when we started our MBA at NITI, or rather IIM Mumbai, where the very definition came on the very first slide where she showed that, and also Sangle sir, where they showed that sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising on the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Definitely, where we talk about the world's resources and when we talk about a long term integrated approach, my earlier speakers have already mentioned that it is no more a topic of CSR where we talk about the 2% thing, but rather it is an integrated approach where we talk about all the issues. So even if we go to the SDG goals, SDGs, where they talk about all everything that encompasses the entire business. It is not only the environment part or the social part or the economic part that they are touching upon. All the companies survive on the profitability part, and this was already ingrained. So if you talk about any company who would have worked over years or decades or centuries, they definitely worked on the profitability part. But and the competitiveness was also there, but in the present scenario, when we talk about all the goals that have come into picture, as normal layman or a person who is going to buy any product, we definitely look into the sustainability part. So there is a big tag which has been attached because of this. It is reputation also that gets along. My earlier speakers have already mentioned a lot about the plastic recycling and other things, and which is definitely a big area on the sustainable part where businesses are working. And in fact, as Medtronic, also we are working on it. Coming from a background of Tata Motors and Marico, when I came into Medtronic, I was wondering where I would be able to contribute in the sustainability domain at Medtronic. And I was actually like it took me a while to understand that we being an extended producer, we were not doing anything directly to the environment, or we were not the producer, so we were not like producing anything from that perspective. But eventually we realized that the kind of waste that we were producing in terms of the e-waste which came from the electronic waste, the simple thing like the battery that was going inside our products, was also something that could be recycled. And eventually, there are a lot of rules that have come from the Central Pollution Control Board that talk about the recycling. And first, we need to actually register and then tell them that, okay, this is the amount that we have imported from from our own Medtronic facility or from a different vendor, and it comes into India, and this is the number that we have to give to the CPCB, telling, okay, this is there. And then we go to the next level where we talk about the recycling part, where we first it is all collected and then recycled. And again, because you all might be going through it in your curriculum also, but we do an annual return in the same way as we used to do for our plastic waste also. And we have to give back saying that, okay, this is what was there and this is the percentage of the material that we have already recycled. So I was just trying to like give this example to all of you, because by adopting all these sustainable practices, businesses can reduce their environmental impact definitely and contribute to the goals. Simple goals like climate change, when we talk about, or we are talking about the industry innovation, there are a lot of improvements in terms of infrastructure that are being done in this respect. When we were students, we were taken to few industries to show that the kind of sustainability initiatives that they were taking, and it was not part of any sustainability report or coming from GRI saying that, okay, this is what is to be done, but they were taking it on their own. So as one of the speakers was also mentioning, that it is not that you have to do what is being asked, you have to think out of box and start looking from that perspective, from a long term perspective. And businesses also have to manage the risk by ensuring that they are prepared for regulatory changes that are happening. I'll give you an example, like this e-waste that came into existence. It was there from 2016 onwards, but suddenly they also included the medical devices. And it is not only that they do it like saying that, okay, you have to recycle and register and all those things, but also it impacts the imports at times, where from the customs end the mandate goes, and we all have to work. So again, this becomes an integrated part of the business. Retailers, investors, everybody from that perspective get involved in one way of the or the another. And from the business's point of view, it is again a win-win situation, because at the end of it, with the kind of investment that we are doing, it is also impacting on the bottom line. And if you see the report from Medtronic, also the recent one, we have shown the kind of footprint and the improvement that we have had in terms of waste reduction, and the environmental improvement in terms of the carbon footprint. And we have a lot of goals that we have defined. I also wanted to talk about one very important thing which we usually tend to forget. From the perspective of a healthcare industry that I come from, we all have been talking about the environmental footprint and also the profitable part, but we can't have a healthy community without a healthy planet. And over the year, we have witnessed that climate change impacts, such as extreme weather events or um, other conditions, they are very frequent, and we recognize the responsibility that we have to reduce our impact in one way or the other. We can do it in the form of environment, which will directly or indirectly impact our business. So, what we have done is we have some science based targets for Medtronic that we are working on, and these goals we align to our main strategy, and we have some goals. Because if you see that even these goals align to our environmental impact strategy or with the global effort that is being done, we have seen the temperature changes also that have happened. And this has also impacted the kind of patients that we are getting. And we cater to like 70 plus conditions. And we have seen the impact of all these climate changes on the patients also, and also on the devices that we are producing or we are distributing in India from that perspective. So these are the few things that I wanted to touch upon, where my earlier speakers have already touched upon a lot of things, where we are talking about the innovation, we are talking about the carbon neutrality, or we are talking about the diversity, inclusion. But one very important thing, because Anju ma'am also asked that we should talk about, where what do you as students should think about. So as earlier also mentioned, one is thinking out of box. Don't restrict yourself to what is there as part of the curriculum. You should start looking at other companies also what they are doing, because you as the new what I would say youthful population, you are going to a new industry and you are going to contribute there. So through your education, definitely you're going to contribute. But if you have an added experience of the research and academics part that you would have done, plus you have your alumni, you have industry leaders who are there on the panel, they would definitely help you improve your experience, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel when you join an industry. So there's a lot of data already available which can help you and aid you. You need not just go by it. Definitely facts and figures are important everywhere, but try to learn from that so that you can expedite your growth as well. So that's it from my end. I would not like to take more time. Any questions, please put it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your participation has made our panel discussion all the more enriching, and we are truly grateful. And now I invite Mr. Ankur Chaturvedi on the panel to share his insights.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Oh, okay, great. So, good morning, everyone. And before I start, before I say anything, apologize to Anju ma'am for what I'm going to say and mess up with the mind of your students, ma'am. My sincere apologies, and I'll do
Yep.
my best to undo it later on.
You're most welcome.
And also my fellow panelists, especially Rahul, who I've known from before, and Anjalli, Ruchi, Neeraj, you guys, please bear with me. My views are unconventional, radical, and at times bordering on the insane. Now, to start about myself, uh, the only dream that I had was to be an officer of the Indian Army. I joined the National Defense Academy and I am an epitome of failure. So I fail more than I succeed. And there also I joined NDA, trained for the 6 terms and failed to become an officer. I was medically boarded out, and then I had my first job with Tata Consumers, which was then Tata Tea. I worked in the plantations, I worked in logistics, worked in packaging, and that's where my relationship with Huhtamaki started. And thereafter, I worked with a few companies, and now currently I head excellence, sustainability, and quality for Emami. Uh, Now, to tell you about Emami, we hear a lot about, with due apologies to Neeraj, we hear a lot about the Coca-Colas and the Unilevers of the world, about sustainability and what they're doing. But let me tell you, Emami already has 20% of its energy requirements from sustainable means. Our total energy requirements, 20% is from by sustainable means already. And we intend to increase it substantially. Can you please give me access? I want to just share a presentation.
Yes, sir. You can present the screen.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me here. Now let me start by what is business. Yes, students, what do you think is business? Okay, let's not waste time. There is a standard definition already available. It is an organized effort of individuals and entities for producing goods and services with an objective of profit. Now, the key word of a business is profit. Do you agree with this? Now, there is a well-known gentleman known as John Elkington. Any idea who this guy is? The students, you guys can also speak. Okay. He gave this triple bottom line approach, which says the profit cannot be measured in financial terms alone. There is a triple bottom line. So when you say the bottom line, which is the profitability of an organization, it depends on three things. The three P's: the people, planet, and profit. Makes sense, right? Great thing. And that's what businesses need to do. But like I said, as far as I'm concerned, this is what I do with this definition. And I'll tell you why. Can a human being survive without breathing? Can a business survive without profit? We all want to wear good clothes. All of us want a good job. Can anything be equal to breathing? We all want to earn money, a good salary, a good CTC. But are we ready to, if I'm out of breath, and COVID taught this to us in very clear terms, we are ready to part with our total wealth just to continue breathing. So nothing is equal to breathing. Similarly, nothing for business is equal to profit. It is essential for survival. Humans cannot survive without air, and business cannot survive without profit. Now the point is, if that be the case, what do the ladies and gentlemen who spoke today and who are here today, or you guys who are studying, and all the world, the UN SDGs, what is all this about? If profit is what business is for, everything else is secondary. Even the speakers before me spoke a lot about what is happening. A lot of it is driven by legislation. Today, plastic waste is being recollected. What Rahul spoke about, MLP collection, that's because the government has mandated it. If the government was not doing it, no one was doing it. Everyone was happy. You go to any tourist place and you see it littered with plastic. No business is bothered. How many of us are ready to put in an extra penny at the cost of profit? Solar power has caught on in India today because the cost of generation of solar power has become cheaper than the cost of grid electricity. How many of us are ready to buy expensive power? I don't think any, unless the government mandates it. Then why are we talking about sustainability? And especially me, I'm sitting in Calcutta in a Durga Puja, talking about something which doesn't make sense. Well, I'm not as big a fool as I make of myself. So all of us need to breathe to live. But just because we are breathing, will we be happy if I'm locked up in a room where I can breathe? I get all the things to survive. Will I be happy? Can I live my life like that? The purpose goes beyond mere survival. When you and I say we do so many things in our life which are not for survival, that is what makes us human. That is what makes us an evolved species, because we are not limited to survival and survival alone. And because we are not limited to survival, we need a purpose in a life. For some, it is philanthropies. For some, it is professional success. For some, it is academics. Similarly, for a business to have value, it needs to have a purpose. And sustainability is that purpose which most organizations are realizing now. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to take questions whenever they are. And please don't misunderstand me. This is something I do over a 1 hour guest lecture, but I tried to squeeze it in the 10 minutes. Didn't want to bore you too much. So thank you very much.
Uh, thank you so much, and special thanks to you for boldly challenging conventions and bringing refreshing and radical perspective to the discussion. And now we are open for questions. So we have a lot of questions coming in from YouTube. So I'll be reading out some of them. Uh, So we have this question which states that the sustainable business practices often requires substantial investments. So how can company balance the financial demands of sustainability with their bottom line, and what ROI expectations should they have?
May I?
Yes, yes, sir.
First of all, if you're looking at ROI, you're not thinking about sustainability. If something has ROI, why does it even have to be sustainable? Any commercial organization, if you go for a capex, which has a payback of 1 year, it will anyway be done. So ROI and sustainability don't go hand in hand. But if you can find out, the key here is finding sustainable initiatives which do not impact your bottom line. That is where your skill and effort needs to be. Like solar power today. Like Abhishek spoke about, Abhishek, I think Neeraj spoke about this, about where we can store solar power now. Till now, the solar power was limited to daytime generation. So those kind of technologies. But please, I don't think anyone, if any organization wants a financial payback for a sustainable initiative, then they might as well not do sustainability. I'm sorry, I'm being blunt, but that's a fact. In fact, I'll take this thing both from Neeraj and Rahul because I know both their organizations quite well. That even a sustainable project will, even a financially viable project would be turned down because its sustainable aspect is not in line. Both these organizations know, and a lot of good organizations do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankur. I think I echo your thoughts. Um, see, uh, we are technocrats, right? And I'm not wrong, all of you who are uh, now in IIM Mumbai are all engineers coming to join an industrial engineering course and now being called as IIM Mumbai. I understand all of you are technocrats. And, technocrats have uh, this hunger to bring in um technologies which have not been tested. So I'll give you an example. Um, and Ankur, I'm sorry, but I have a different opinion. The the opinion is that you cannot bring in sustainability or any agenda or any executable initiative unless it goes hand in hand with business. And that is what he told is profit. Right? Now, sustainability is always a trade-off till the time you find a solution. For example, if I make a bottle which is made from plastic. I bring in a technology which will be able to reduce 40% of my total uh, plastic content straight away, right? Improving the quality and improving the shelf life of the product. So we have a product called it's the lowest waste plastic bottle in the world. Where we make 250 ml Coke or Thumbs Up. It used to be 15 gram. Okay, normal plastic bottle 15 gram. Technology evolved. We worked with a partner to, to actually patent that technology. Okay, what we introduced, we reduced the weight to 9.6 grams. Okay? From 15 gram to 9.6 gram. It will have impact in quality. It will have impact on the shelf life of the product, etc., etc. But with an introduction of a technology, which we actually partner with someone, we just added a silica layer. We made it a glass protected bottle with some additional cost. Initially, if you think the capex, yes, it is very high. The development cost, yes, it is very high. But there's a, there's a future pack, right? Over a period of time, it will pay back on its itself. And that's the mindset that we need to have as technocrats, right? To bring in technology which never been tested before, right? And in that period, you don't think about ROI. You just think about future business prospects. Today, that pack grows at more than 60-70% in a year. More than 60-70% in a year, much more than the end of the India average you know, FMCG products. Why? Because you can actually give the consumer experience or a better consumer experience at a lower price. Is it profitable? Yes, it is. But after 2 years, right? So it is about challenging everything that we are into. And that's how initially you don't have to think about ROI. Initially, you have to think about bringing in game-changing technology, right? So, yeah, over to you.
So I would want to add to that. I think what Neeraj and what Ankur sir has said is a mix of things, is what rightly has been put. It's to look forward to the long-term value. See, as of now, what everybody understand and recognize that the sustainable solutions are still at the at the stage of getting developed, getting scalable, so that in future it becomes a common ways of doing things in for future, and that is where we need to look into a long-term value. I agree that ROI in the initial time could be a question in the boardroom to counter go profit, but to be honest, as what rightly Mr. Ankush said is that it should not be hitting the profit. And it should be at least ROI is zero neutral, as what I say to everybody. And that is where it becomes very attractive for the business houses when you say that this solution is long term as well as ROI neutral. Because one more interesting study which happened from the consulting world, which spoke about that 67% of the new generation customers are looking for a sustainable products, but the counter side of it, nobody is ready to pay an extra penny for it. So let's say if Coca-Cola increases their price from 10 to 15, or Emami increase their price from 10 to 15, they will, lot of consumers will be pulling out, and that's the harsh reality. But yes, that is where the companies today, the leaders today, like Emami, Coke, and yeah, Huhtamaki, all these companies are working for a long-term value perspective and changing the domains. It's not as simple as we talk about sustainability. It's very challenging. Mr. Neeraj, as he spoke about the technological challenges, and that is where the thinking out of the box and long-term value. And it should be, a long-term in the sense it should be sustainable solution on its own, which generates a long-term solution. Then ROI could be, put out of the question for a couple of years, which is fine, which companies are still doing today. But long term value is very important. And finding a trade off between not charging the customers and creating value. Let me give you another example. One of the ways, while people are sourcing solar energy, people are sourcing renewable energy, that's all beautiful thing being done. But some companies I know, which I am working with, also getting into depth, where are what is our energy consumption and where it is coming from. We need to reduce, look into those as well, the basic concepts. And I really admire what Rahul said, is that look into the nature, you'll find the solutions. And yes, those are the things, just wanted to add. Thank you.
Sorry, I'll just quickly add to this question because I mean my opinion is it's not either long term or short term. I mean, if I have to give an analogy, I would give sustainability an analogy of building a test innings in cricket. Okay. And sometimes you have to let go of the six balls in an over. And so in terms of ROI, I don't score any runs from that over. But in order to sustain my innings, I need to play them out without getting an ROI in terms of runs. But there will also come an over where I'll probably hit four boundaries. And there the ROI will be high. But without that 1 over where I did not score a single run, and without that over where I scored 16 runs, I will not have a sustained innings which probably will win the match for me. So sustainability is that. Sometimes I will have a project which will reduce my packaging waste and it will give me ROI from the next day because I've brought in efficiency. Whereas in order to have to manufacture recyclable structures, I'm again talking from my industry, but uh, the investment right now is so high that I cannot even think of ROI. But if I don't do it for the future, then probably 15 years down the line, my business won't survive, and it won't cannot contribute. So it has to be a mix of long term, short term, and that's the analogy that I wanted to just explain it with.
So to the things that Abhishek sir here said, we have a question for that. A recent survey by Deloitte found out that 80% of the Indian consumers are willing to pay a premium for the sustainable products and services. So, what are the some of the ways that businesses can capitalize on this
Yeah.
growing consumer demand for these sustainable products and services?
Definitely. Uh, Thanks for that question. One of the interesting thing, let's stick to the packaging, because where I see Neeraj from Coke and Rahul from the Huhtamaki. So basically, if let's say Coca-Cola, for example, they recently launched 100% recycled PET bottle in a certain region for a certain product, and that's not an additional cost. For example, Nike came out with a recycled from footwears. There are multiple companies who has come out, but the price is little more premium to that, and that is where you would not, but see, it is ultimately, it should be a value proposition for the people as a consumer, right? If everybody looks out for the value, I agree, people are looking for a sustainable solutions. But the another study, when the people came out with additional, it's not getting scalable. There are multiple companies who have came out with some ideas for products which are firstly, the infrastructures, a supply chain are not ready to make it more commercially effective and possible at a cost which is feasible for the companies or for the customers. So that is the play, that is the current, and rightly said, as I said, we don't have to look into the short term, we have to look into the both mix, and that is how we have to keep on moving. But yes, as rightly said, people are ready to pay premium, and that could be one off, I would say. It's something, let's say if we are using a Colgate toothpaste today, and it is coming and it's a regular household product for me, and I'm using it, I'm buying it at a price, but I may shift to a sustainable product for some time, but won't be able to continue it for a longer period of time. That's a company has to come back to that a sustainable price from the consumer mindset. So one of as a buying product trend for sustainable choices can happen, but consumer also need to adopt. So once the demand becomes more and more, consumer starts buying it on a regular basis, that is where the infrastructure, so it's both demand supply play, and that is where the challenges are bringing, and that is where a lot of things being done. So while we say that it is expensive, people are looking forward to, but that's not a value addition to in terms of a long term. So yeah.
Very right, Abhishek. So I'll just add on what is happening globally and what is happening in India. Okay. Globally, if you go to Europe and if you ask a consumer, you want to pay a premium for a sustainable solution product, they will say yes. Okay. If you ask in India, they will say no, we don't want to pay an extra penny. And that's a challenge we have. And honestly, that's a challenge we have. We launched, in fact, I was the project coordinator and I bought this in India for first time. We launched 100% recycled PET. 100%. Okay? If you take a Coke in few of the geographies, it will be 100% recycled within 20 days. Okay. Uh, I am the premium that I'm paying for that. Why other companies are not doing it? Because it is coming at a premium, right? The feedstock is coming at a premium. And if you honestly ask the circularity around it, it is about the consumer awareness. We lack consumer awareness. India lacks consumer awareness. How many of you, honestly tell me, you don't have to answer me. How many of you do a waste segregation 100% when you throw garbage from your home? How many? Not more than 2% of the total population would do it. Okay. What happens to that? Everything get mixed. There's a cost of sorting. You segregate it. We are investing, the industry is investing to put material recovery centers just to sort out waste. Right? Why? Because the consumers are not aware about it. Okay. Now imagine, suppose I get a scrap bottle. I don't call it scrap. I should not. It's a post-consumer product bottle from a market. The yield that I get, purity that I get, 60%. Why? Because it is all mixed with that garbage. It is mixed with wet, dry, and my yield comes down by almost like 40%. Now imagine if I buy a post-consumer bottle at 40 rupees, 20% is, say, for example, my yield losses, which I could recover from this, would make 60 rupees. Right? So I'm actually losing that 20 rupees because of the consumer awareness not there. We need to create that mindset. We need to create that infrastructure, which will today, if you go to Japan, if you have to throw garbage, you have to pay tax. Every day garbage, you have to pay tax. And if it's not segregated, you are fined. Right? Is it possible in India next 10 years? I don't think so. Right? So those are the consumer trends that needs to get evolved. And I'm not saying that people are not doing it. Many efforts are in. Government is trying to bring those changes. And hats off to this government who has actually tried to bring a lot of sustainable initiatives in each of the budget that they present. Right? So, but it will take time. It may take. What is happening in India has happened in US about 100 years back. Exactly 100 years back. 1931 is when the changes started happening in US. We are just starting now. So um, everyone's intention is good, but it will take time. Thank you.
Um, just one thing adding here, Neeraj, adding to your point of consumer awareness, there also needs to be avenues where we provide them like bins, etc., at a place where they can dispose of. Because if you see going around, if I don't have a bin where I can put the bottle, or I was abroad for some time and I've seen that they get incentives. So if you put the bottle inside that bin, you get something like maybe 10 cents or maybe 50 cents for that matter. So that is also something that as maybe producers, manufacturers can be looked into. I have seen there are companies who are doing it, Metabins and all, but I think that spread is not there at the moment, is what I feel.
I will take this. It's an interesting topic. How many of you use Zepto app? How many of you? Many, right? Many of you. Recently, we did a project with Zepto, wherein we partnered with Zepto to collect bottle when they deliver groceries to you. Okay. How many of you have actually used it? We know there's an app. Okay. If you click, there's an option. There's a notification which comes in, which will say, do you want to send the recycled, sorry, the used bottle free of cost? You don't have to go and scrap it to anyone else, right? Even if someone pays me, if I have to pay 50 paise a bottle, I'll pay that because the cost of me getting it collected from market is much higher than 50 paise. Okay. Mhm. These are the changes which are coming in, but it is all about the mindset. The mindset has to change. Unless we as a society change that mindset, it's very difficult. We have deployed about 2,000 reverse vending machines. In last 1 year, we are unable to get uh, a significant quantity from that. Why? Because consumer does not want to go and walk 20 steps to put a bottle in an RVM, reverse vending machine. They'll throw it there. And a rack picker will come. It'll take it to the same recycling unit which I've actually tied up with the reverse vending machine. Right? So yeah, those are the challenges that India has. I mean, but I'm sure that we'll overcome it in few years. Thank you.
I'm sorry we are spending too much time on a question, but I'll just take 30 seconds here. When we talk about India, we must not forget the socio-economic condition of our country. Like I said, survival is more important. You can't expect a hungry man to think about sustainability. If I have stayed in the tea plantations, I have researched human elephant conflict, though a slightly different thing. It's very easy for us to sit in our AC rooms, watch an elephant killed by villagers, and go how horrible it is. But imagine the thought of a guy whose paddy field this elephant had ruined, and his children will not have anything to eat for the next 1 year. So the similar things are there, and we must keep it. And I again say, any company, any sustainability initiative, I would like to see if they have done it on cost. I'm sorry, I have not found any till now. Every sustainability initiative, even Neeraj mentioned about the new technology. Now, if the focus is sustainability, why patent it? Give it free to everyone. Because the focus of business is profit. Please be very clear. Let's not say that we are great. We are businessmen. We are here for profit. And while making profit, we'll try to do the best. So it is never sustainability first. It has to be profit first. And it is very important for sustainability professionals to understand this, because any project which is ROI negative, like Ashish very rightly said, if we can make it ROI neutral, we will get funding. If it is ROI negative, forget about it. ROI negative we'll get if the government mandates it. And mandating can be in different ways. BRSR has given a push because now you have to declare. So because you have to declare, you have to do it. We don't want to look ugly. That is why you are doing it. Thank you.
With that, just wanted to one point, sir, to your point. I think we should talk about sustainable profit. So both things coming together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh, Thank you so much. Moving forward, we have a question for Ruchi ma'am specifically. The question is, what are the initiatives Medtronic has taken recently to improve the EHS and the sustainability part as a healthcare company?
Okay. So I'll start with the EHS part. We work with the the work that we do is with the hospitals specifically. So our people, they are constantly on the roads. One thing, so we work a lot in terms of the road safety initiatives for our people. Second is on the safety part where they are going to the hospitals and they are exposed to ionizing radiations. So we provide them with the adequate RPs, that is radio protective equipments. Third is on the infections that they might be subjected to when they are exposed to in the hospitals. So that vaccination part is there. So that is for our people. And for the patients, definitely we are working a lot in terms of saving their lives and providing solutions so that um, that's again it comes into sustainability only because that is how, as everybody and specifically Ankur has mentioned, it is actually sustainable profit because you get unless you have it, why would any company work on it? So everybody works on the basic of bottom line. So that is there. Coming to the sustainability initiatives, we do a lot of work which primarily falls from the manufacturing part. In India, we are not doing much, but from the manufacturing, we are using renewable resources. So we try to harness that and we use very less of alternate, like the main coming from the grid, and that advantage we are getting because that is not done in India. It is outside India, the manufacturing which is done. So we are able to get that renewable part. Second is on the waste reduction, where we constantly work on it, and we have reduced a lot of waste, more than like 32% in the entire, like this year, if I talk about. Third is again the cost part, which we have reduced, which we also show in our sustainability report. So these are the major things that we work on. The social part is definitely there, where we work with a lot of schools. We have Project 6, which is running, and we provide that education to the kids. Also, the other things like the food, and we have tied up with Akshay Patra, and we work very closely with them. So these are the few things that we work on.
Uh, thank you so much. And next question we have for Rahul sir specifically. The question is, ki, what are the new initiatives in the circularity in packaging industry, and some insights on how businesses are influencing the policy in circularity?
Okay, so I think I already answered a bit or a lot of it in when I spoke. The bigger one key thing is design for circularity, right? When it comes to packaging, and that's our key focus in terms of making our structures recyclable, so that ultimately when they post consumer use, when they end up in as so-called waste after the consumer, they can be pulled up, they can actually be recycled using the infrastructure that is available in the country, and recycled brought back into the packaging value chain in terms of the manufacturing. While this may just sound easy, there's a lot of technical inputs, technical innovation that goes into this. It Like for example, when you are, I'll take the example of PE, right, as a material. When you recycle PE and you bring it back into the manufacturing, due to the content of recycled granules, there's a chance that heavy metals might enter the packaging. Imagine if when you recycle something like a milk pouch, right? There is an existing odor that is there of milk in that pouch. If I have to recycle, my new packaging cannot have that odor, so I have to do deodorization. There is previous printing that had been done on that packaging. I need to de-ink it. I have to make white or transparent recycled granules, have to bring it back. When I use those recycled granules back in my packaging, again PE, for example, there is a chance of what we call as a gel formation, meaning there is possibility of leakage of a product. So we cannot impact the functionality, right? And but still making those packaging recyclable, enabling recycling, ensuring that our technical understanding can bring back that recycled content into our own manufacturing, and all of this doing while that the functionality of protecting that particular product is not impacted or negated, is where our entire focus is, and that's where our innovations are. And obviously when it comes to policy making, we, like I also explained, we are working a lot with regulatory authorities. In fact, the one thing that is missing on the plastic waste management rules is our rules are, or the regulatory mandates are not talking of making the packaging recyclable. They have said that recycled content should be included, but none of the regulations are saying that they should be made recyclable in the first place. So it's not just mandates that we are working in, but we are working with authorities to kind of get these things mandated. There is a chance of standardization in packaging also, which is not existing in India. But again, taking a common example of say milk pouches, more or less all milk pouches have a standard structure in India. And if you see, like Neeraj gave an example of a PET bottle, a PET bottle does not remain in a garbage dump for long, it is collected. Same is the case with milk pouches. Milk pouches never stay in the garbage dump. They always get collected. The people who collect it always get money for it. And because they are a single monolith structure, they always get recycled and there is good value for recycling it also. If such a system can be built for other packaging solutions also, that's where we as we are working with policymakers to standardize it also. So I think I'm trying to give a short answer to a vast subject, but more or less trying to give a gist of it. Okay.
Okay, thank you. The next question is coming up for Ankur sir, and the question here says that okay, what is a business and what is a business's purpose? I mean, can you explain or can you please give examples and how it is done in a company? And apart from that, is there any initiatives done by Emami other than which are mandatory by the government in the sustainability part? Sir, you are on mute.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah. To answer the first part of a question, it'll take a lot of time here, but I would request all of you to please uh, search about a company called Patagonia for jackets. Now that is one business which is the epitome of sustainable and profitable business. Just to give you an example, the cost of a Patagonia jacket is at least 6 times more than what you could buy in a Primark or a Walmart. And they're roaring in profit, and they're a totally sustainable company with zero. They are net carbon neutral. Every sustainability parameter, they are perfect, and they're still making a profit. Now coming to Emami. I already mentioned we have 20% of our energy already sourced from renewable sources, and we are expanding it even further. When it comes to liquid discharge, all our plants, there are environmental regulations which mandate the quality of water that we discharge out after the effluent treatment. Our internal parameters are 20% tighter than the PCB norms, which is the Pollution Control Board norms. So these are some of the things that we do which are beyond the regulation. And please do check out about Patagonia. I'm waiting for a day they come to India and I buy their jacket.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you so much. We have a lot of questions coming in, but we have time restriction and the time constraints. So, moving forward, and we'll be ending this session here. Some of the questions will be emailing you those questions, and we are hoping to
please.
get answers from you then. And may I now request Professor Anju ma'am to give vote of thanks.
Okay, so that was like sudden. I thought they will be, it was going very well and very good discussion. So really thank all of you for being here and being, having such an interactive session and so insightful that the students have, I'm sure they are now much more motivated and looking at sustainability from different lenses. So it's really been a pleasure. Thank you, Abhishek, for talking about social behavior and talking about your impacts which are internal and external both and how to take care of them. Then we had Rahul talking about circularity and saying circular is sustainable. and which is very good. And the material is actually what is critical also, but not all. More important is how you use the material and how the material sort of gets circulated. And looking at single polymers, looking at how, like he said in Q&A, how policies can be changed, about, like he talked of how the material that is there is packaging material that can be, in policy mandated and changed. Then we have, after that, we had Neeraj, and he talked about, what I really liked, how he correlated what's happening in India and then, business. And since he's from the supply chain domain, it would have been, even more great if we had heard more about from him about the sustainable supply chain initiatives also. I thought he'll come up in the Q&A. And how they're talking about energy, water, climate change, and these are the critical issues and how these are being dealt with in the business. Then we had Ruchi, and so Ruchi and Rahul are really close to our heart because we've taught them and they are alum. So she really talked about infra and packaging, and it was a good insight for students to understand how electronic making company, how they are helping in the hospital, in the healthcare, and how that's connected to sustainability. Because that's some of those kind of cases we don't get many times in class. So, and then we had Ankur, who spoke about unconventional, radical, and insane. So we do take the Patagonia case in class. In fact, that is my first or second class. And I was really happy when you talked about it. So yeah, definitely. We are also trying to link, in class purpose and business. And like you said, breathing is what is profit for business. But what are we breathing will also be probably decided by business. So are we breathing toxic or are we breathing oxygen? Right. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot. In fact, I learned a lot, and thank you for sharing. And we hope to see you again soon in IIM Mumbai. And thanks a lot. Thank you to the students also. They are up on a Saturday at 10 a.m. That itself is, quite a bit. And I see them very excited about the whole thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Anjuman.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am,
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
words. So we have reached the end of this enlightening event uh, on the topic of the role of business in advancing sustainable development in India. And I'm sure that the discussion and the insights shared by our panelists is very inspiring and thought provoking. And before we come to the closure of this event, I, on behalf of the entire IIM Mumbai fraternity, would like to express my sincere thanks to all the panelists for accepting our invitation and taking out their precious time for this panel discussion. Thank you so much. And with this, we officially conclude the event. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.